Alright, ATACMS time for Russia almost every day. It seems like Ukraine has obtained lots of the ATACMS from the United States recently and continue to use those to target the Russian military infrastructure. For example, today the Russian airfield in Luhansk occupied city was hit with a cluster munition ATACMS. Guys, sorry I had to blur the image because of the platform restrictions, but nevertheless I shared it on my Telegram channel where you may find this video and many more information about what is happening in Ukraine. It is available with my personal link in the video description just below. What I may say you here that for sure it was the cluster munition which covered the vast area of the airfield, and at the very beginning of the video there was the army track of the Russian army, so for sure it was used by the Russian military. Well, actually there are two of the Luhansk airfields. One was the commercial one and Russia totally ambushed this place. However, the runway is still okay and they may use it for their military aviation. If we zoom in more, you may see the remains of the terminal building that was destroyed back in 2014. I used to fly to that airfield many of the times, even on ATR 42. But if we move northbound from this airfield, you may find the other one, which is basically a big aviation museum. However, back in 2014, again, Russia converted it into their military base. And as far as I remember, Ukraine already launched some of the UAVs towards that airfield. So for sure there is the Russian military infrastructure too, and moreover you may see they dig the ground, the hangars for their helicopters or what they store out there. Well, we don't have the recent images of that particular airfield, but I think that Russia started to base their Sukhoi 25 attack airplanes plus helicopters, and I think that it was targeted because there are some of the residential buildings just close to it of the huge fire was taken from this side. You may see it, for example, on this one. I don't know if I said it, but hello my friends and welcome. My name is Dennis and this is the latest update from Ukraine. Guys, I see many of the signs that Ukraine is preparing to strike the Russian bases on the Russian territory with ATACMS and cruise missiles. I think that the final decision for that has already been taken by the White House administration because Ukraine started to target lots of the Russian raiders with UAVs. It's been confirmed that the Orenburg over-horizon radar was targeted. We have the satellite images of that. It wasn't just a single drone strike, but many of the drones reached their targets. We have the confirmation of it from the schemes. It's the Ukrainian media which got access to the satellite images. So before we had kind of the poor picture, and now there is a detailed picture showing the damages caused by the UAVs. Yes, those are not significant, but at least temporarily those raiders are unable to operate fully. From what I understood, those Russian stations of the project Voronezh M are not only capable to identify ICBMs, but the rest of the ballistic missiles, like ATACMS. Since there were some of the cases of the ATACMS missile interceptions by the Russian side, Ukraine now tries to minimize the risks for the attacks on the Russian bases, basically making the Russian air defense blind. The standard radars like in S-400 and S-300 air defense systems are not helping much for Russia, and there were numerous of the cases how ATACMS destroyed those systems without being identified. So over-horizon systems pose more risk for the ATACMS missiles. That's why Ukraine now tries to get rid of those. For sure preparing for the big strike. Russia started to publish those kind of the pictures. They stated that those were taken not far away from their over-horizon radars, and they say that the name of the drone is the Tekeva IR-3, which is manufactured by the joint British-Portuguese company. Tekeva IR-3, okay, let's Google it. Well, from what I can say, definitely it's the same drone, and Russia started to say that Ukraine has started to use the Western-made weaponry to target a strategic infrastructure of the Russian army. The radars that might attack the ICBMs with nuclear warheads. They say it's serious and the West is involved into it and Russia needs to respond. But again, we see those comments from the Russian Z communities, from their military bloggers, but not from the official Russian propaganda media sources, because they afraid, I think, at this stage to escalate. For them, everything is good and nothing is targeted. On the Russian official media, will not find that information. But for sure, Russian officials, together with Putin, know about it. But for now, they prefer to stay calm. How do I know that it's the same drone? Well, just look at those antennas, look at the engine exhaust, and basically the drone design, and let's look at the wreckage once again. So the same motor, the same looking antennas, the part of the wing is just lying near the drone. Basically, I have no doubts that it is really AR-3. And here we have even the video of the drone, how it was flying in the skies of the Krasnodar Oblast, Russian Federation. Yeah, hopefully you was able to spot this small dot, but it's the highest zoom we have. My friends, just in case you want to support my daily job that I do on YouTube, you may also join my Patreon page. It is available with my personal link in the video description just below. Thank you so much for your awesome support. Kind of the interesting information comes from Syrskyi, who is the commander of the Ukrainian Armed Forces. Ukraine commander says French military instructors to visit Ukrainian training centers soon. Syrskyi openly stated about it, saying that the decision has already been made. So France really wants to participate in the training of the Ukrainian soldiers. For Russia, well, they understand it as escalation, which is good, because the Western countries also need to show to Russia that not just Russia may escalate. Luckily, Macron understands that with his policy of no red lines. At least he states like that. We're not here saying about the actions that France is doing to support Ukraine. Yes, they sent lots of the equipment, for example, but still this escalation from the West is mostly in the media sources. Later on, the Ukrainian General Staff says that the decision hasn't been taken, but the word is not a bird. If it flies, it flies. And we understand that Syrskyi stated the truth, that definitely France is willing to send and will send their instructors to Ukraine. I think that Russia understands that. That is why in their propaganda media sources they start to say that France is sending their foreign legion forces to Ukraine. There will be thousands of troops helping Ukrainian army. So Russia really fights against NATO, but it's not true. Right, we have this image that was taken today. Russia sends more and more vehicles to reinforce their group in the Kharkiv region. They want to attack and take at least Vovchansk under their control. But there Ukraine has already started its counteroffensive maneuver, so hopefully Russians will be pushed out. But still Russia has enormous resources using their vehicles, tanks and many more. And here you can see their new quite complicated tactical signs which they put on their vehicles, which fight on the northern part of Ukraine. The Kharkiv region and also the Russian group near Sumy region also has those signs. But if we check out the movement of the Russian armed forces, the last one was more than a week ago. They expanded the gray area from Vovchansk, and after it, no any changes, so Russia for sure bogged down in the Kharkiv region. We know that their goal was to advance much further into the Kharkiv Oblast, maybe even close to the Kharkiv city itself. And according to the statement of the Institute for the Study of War, Russia is unable to move across some of the very important villages in the Kharkiv region, the northern part of it, because Ukrainian defense is quite strong out there, so Russia has to reinforce their group in the Kharkiv Oblast in an attempt to finally break through Ukrainian defense, but so far it doesn't work for them. I posted the video today with the Russian convoy being ambushed, so Russia doesn't hesitate to use their modern tanks T-90 Emperor Reef. But even those are stopped by Ukrainian defenders. Here you can see quite a unique modification of that T-90 Emperor Reef. Basically a huge spoiler, so fast and furious Russian soldiers. Sorry guys, I cannot say the other words on this channel. I think they used the spoiler for the drone protection of the aft part. I think it's like that. The tank really looks interesting with that, and also they have extra plates on the turret itself, so here in the aft part and on the sides. As it was claimed, Ukraine was able to trophy this particular tank. Hopefully in this case we're gonna see more images of this tank. What happened to it? Well, judging on the video that I saw, it hit the mine. But it was filmed from the long distance, so maybe it was targeted also by the Ukrainian drone, because we can see the spots. So this area is kind of the grayish dark. Yeah, it really looks interesting, isn't it? And one more best Russian tank T-90 was targeted by Ukraine, this time with no spoiler, just with some of the explosives armor on the top. But the destiny is, as always, known. Unfortunately, Ukraine is unable to trophy this one any longer because it's total kaput. Alright, so what was the plan of the Russian assault in Kharkiv region? The plan was announced and confirmed by Ukrainian military command. So this first stage is to take the ground at the bordering region using lots of the artillery and advantage of the Russian army. It partially worked, as you can see, but still there are some of the fights in Volchansk, and Ukraine even tries to counterattack there. But with this part, we may say that more or less Russia achieved this goal to move Ukrainian forces further from the border. Stage 2 of the Russian army is the attack on Liptse and also towards Vesele. And going to Olkhovatka, so all of this territory should have been occupied by Russians at this particular time already. The most of the Ukrainian defense that was built in the region in this case should have been penetrated. And the stage number 3 is the main breakthrough going towards Kupiansk direction, occupying at least few of the settlements and creating the risk for Ukrainian forces in this region. We see that Russia is not as fast as they thought, but nevertheless they still have those plans in their military command and they're doing everything to make them real. They do not care about their losses. Stoltenberg again says that Ukraine should obtain the permission to use the Western weaponry on the Russian territory to target just military infrastructure of the Russian army. He says about it, I think, on a daily basis, encouraging our allies to take the final decision. But as I say to you at the beginning of the video, I think that the decision in the White House, for example, has already been taken, and the United States will allow Ukraine to use ATACMS on Russia very soon, hopefully even this week. That would gradually reduce the capabilities of the Russian military airfields, Russian aviation, because the most capable weaponry that Russia has are the gliding bombs, which they drop from their Sukhoi 34 fighters bombers, so the best variant is to target those planes when they are still on the ground. And the ATACMS range of 300 kilometers really helps a lot with that. Stoltenberg even started to say that if Ukraine obtains weaponry, it is no longer the Allied weaponry or something, it's not the NATO weaponry, it's the Ukrainian weaponry, and it should do whatever it wants with it. Well, kind of the strong logic, but many of our politician allies do not understand it. Today, Spain has announced a new military aid package for Ukraine. Initially, it's going to be 1 billion euros, which will cover the cost of the Patriot missiles and also Leopard 2A4 tanks that will be extra supplied to Ukraine. I guess Spain is the only country this year which promised Leopard 2 tanks to Ukraine. The last year, Ukraine obtained many of those, but this year, just Spain supports Ukraine with that type of the tank. Some of the other allies are sending the Leopard 1 tanks, but those are much less capable compared to Leopard 2. Spain, thank you so much for your awesome support. And here you can see the Abrams tank of Ukrainian army with some of the tuning. For example, the Contact 1 explosives armor is located on the tank base and also on the top of the base as well. I guess some of the extra armor on the side, well, maybe it was included in this modification. And what is the most important, the grille protection, kind of the nice one, I may say, judging on the style, and everything here just looks very compact compared to the Russian Hangar tank, for example. Ukraine lost some of the Abrams tanks just because they were not equipped with this drone protection. And here you can see some of the bullet hole on the front. Well, those machines are really capable, and judging on the tuning, they'll take part in a real combat fight very soon, because before they were taken out from the front lines, probably for this some sort of the upgrade to increase the safety of the crew and survivability of the tank. As some of the Ukrainian media sources like Obozrevatelь said that Ukraine tried to target the Russian palace, Putin's palace, on the territory of the Krasnodar Oblast. The drones were spotted there a couple of days ago. Unfortunately, the attack wasn't really successful. Well, I'm not sure whether this information is definitely correct, but this Putin's palace is quite popular. because it was involved into the corruption investigation video published by Navalny already 3 years ago. The video got 132 million views. It's one of the most popular videos of the Russian YouTube segment. According to the German Bild source, NATO is looking for the solutions to close the part of the sky over the Ukrainian territory. We are speaking about the western regions, and I already told you about it in one of my recent videos. So the last year we saw the support of Ukraine with a counterattack on the south, which we understand wasn't so successful, but nevertheless Ukraine got lots of the weaponry. But this year we see the different style of support of Ukraine, with maybe even direct involvement of some of our allies to secure Ukraine against the Russian strikes. I think that we should have this long-term strategy, because I'm sure that Russia will not stop. They're determined to take Ukraine under their control, maybe to put their puppet government in Kiev. If they had started this full-scale war back in 2022, it means that really they are determined. And moreover, they have resources, so I don't actually see the light at the end of the tunnel. Some say about some sort of the peace negotiations between Ukraine and Russia, but those are not possible, at least at this stage. I mean, with Putin and Zelensky, they simply do not recognize each other's legitimacy. So how the peace talks are possible in this case? And after all, the peace will be just a temporary one, as it happened in 2014. Then Minsk agreements were signed, but finally Russia decided to attack Ukraine. It will be the same scenario as Russia sees it in the future. So the best thing that our allies should do to support Ukraine is to send more weaponry, that's it. And promise robust security guarantees for Ukraine. Well, at least I see it like that. So which countries support the deal to protect the skies in Ukraine, at least over the western regions? Well, those are Estonia, Great Britain, Poland, Canada, France, against two of the countries, the United States of America and Germany. They do not want to escalate using their weaponry, but we have good signs, at least from the United States, that highly likely Ukraine will obtain the permission to target the Russian territory with the Western-made ATACMS missiles. About the air defense protection with the Western-made jets, well, we'll see how it goes, because without the United States and Germany, this decision will not be taken, I'm sure about it. Also, there are some talks to expand the logistics lines within Ukrainian territory, because now the Western-made weaponry is being delivered to the border, till the border of Ukraine, and later on it's the problem of Ukraine to get it to the front lines, and sometimes Russia might strike the Western-made weaponry during this transportation. So it would be nice just to close the skies over some sort of the territory to provide more robust logistics for Ukrainian army. Speaking about the scale of the Russian losses, they're really tremendous, especially in the Kharkiv direction. Some of the Russian cameramen filmed the video of the local hospital in Belgorod. It is definitely crowded with the Russian soldiers. There are no any free space, so Russians use the corridors to place their soldiers. It's crazy. And for example, Chancellor Scholz says that Russia is losing 24,000 soldiers around per month. But I think that Russia also mobilizes around that amount per month as well. And they do not need to announce a new massive mobilization, because they still have many of the volunteers, also the foreign mercenaries coming to Russia from some of the African allied countries, from Syria, from Nepal, from India. But why are they coming? Well, basically to earn money. Maybe to spend them in their afterlife. I don't know why, but still money matters for many, and they are willing to really risk their lives, because the chances to die in this war are dramatically high. Well, after all, Russia would have to announce a new mobilization of their army men. By increasing the salary for their soldiers, they just postpone this moment. Kind of the big article published by the Telegraph, they say that China is preparing armada of ferries to invade Taiwan. They say that China is in lack of the landing ships. That's why probably they're gonna use some of the commercial ships in case they start the landing operation in Taiwan. Their goal is to break the Taiwanese defense and then use civilian ships to land their forces. It should be like that. Meanwhile, the joint forces of American military and Philippines are performing their drills on one of the islands not far away from Taiwan, showing that they are determined to protect their ally. The European Union is working on implementing a new sanctions package on the Russian Federation, but Hungary, as usual, is strongly against it. They say that it will harm their energy market. Well, it's not a surprise here. And now, my friends, please don't forget to press your huge like to this video. By doing so, you help me a lot. As usual, wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are, and have a great time.